Let's talk about a woman whose life was so daring, so extraordinary, that it sounds more like fiction than fact. Nancy Wake, also known as the White Mouse, was a World War II hero who evaded capture, led daring missions, and fought fearlessly against the Nazi regime. Her life story is one of bravery, resilience, and an unyielding defiance against tyranny. Nancy Grace Augusta Wake was born on August 30th, 1912, in Wellington, New Zealand. She was the youngest of 6 children, and her early life was marked by hardship. When she was just 2 years old, her family relocated to Australia. Soon after, her father abandoned the family, leaving her mother to raise 6 children alone. Despite this challenging start, Nancy's rebellious and independent spirit became evident early on. She dreamed of adventure and breaking free from the constraints of her upbringing. At the age of 16, Nancy left home and moved to Sydney, where she trained as a nurse. But nursing didn't satisfy her adventurous nature. She longed to see the world, and by the early 1930s she had saved enough money to travel to Europe. In Paris she began working as a journalist, a career that exposed her to the political upheaval of the time. As a journalist, Nancy travelled extensively, including to Germany. It was there, in the early 1930s, that she witnessed the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. She saw firsthand the brutal treatment of Jews and other groups targeted by the regime. These experiences profoundly affected her, planting the seeds of her determination to fight against fascism. In 1939, Nancy married Henri Fiocca, a wealthy French industrialist, and settled in Marseille. Her life seemed idyllic, but the outbreak of World War II changed everything. When Germany invaded France in 1940, Nancy couldn't stand by and watch her adopted country suffer. She joined the French resistance, beginning her work as a courier. Her initial tasks involved transporting messages, documents and supplies, all under the watchful eyes of the Gestapo. Nancy quickly proved herself invaluable to the resistance. Her charm, quick thinking and resourcefulness allowed her to navigate Nazi checkpoints and evade detection. She developed a reputation for slipping through Gestapo traps, earning her the nickname the White Mouse. By 1943, she had become one of the most wanted people in France, with the Gestapo placing a 5 million franc bounty on her head. Tragedy struck when her resistance network was betrayed. The Gestapo began arresting members, and Nancy's life was in immediate danger. She was forced to flee France, leaving behind her beloved husband, Henri. He stayed to continue the fight, but was later captured and executed by the Nazis. Nancy wouldn't learn of his fate until after the war. Nancy's escape from France was harrowing. She trekked 500 kilometers on foot across the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, a journey filled with danger and exhaustion. She relied on her wit and sheer determination to survive, evading Nazi patrols and enduring harsh conditions. Once she reached Spain, she made her way to Britain, where she joined the Special Operations Executive, or SOE. The SOE was an organization tasked with training and deploying agents to carry out espionage, sabotage and reconnaissance missions in Nazi-occupied Europe. Nancy underwent rigorous training, learning how to parachute from planes, handle weapons and conduct guerrilla warfare. Her instructors were impressed by her toughness and adaptability. In 1944, she parachuted back into France to lead a resistance group in the Auvergne region. Nancy's leadership in the resistance was extraordinary. She organized and trained a 7,000-strong army of Maquis fighters, orchestrating sabotage missions to disrupt Nazi operations. Her group destroyed bridges, derailed trains and cut supply lines, all while facing constant danger. Nancy led from the front, inspiring her men with her courage and determination. One of her most famous exploits occurred when her radio operator's equipment was destroyed. To ensure vital communication with the Allies, Nancy rode a bicycle over 300 kilometers through Nazi-occupied territory to deliver a message. This daring journey took her past numerous checkpoints, but she managed to complete her mission without being caught. Nancy wasn't just a strategist, she was also a fighter. During one mission, she killed a German sentry with her bare hands to prevent him from raising the alarm. Her bravery and resourcefulness earned her the unwavering loyalty of her comrades. Despite the immense risks, she continued to fight until the liberation of France. One of her most daring missions involved coordinating an ambush on a heavily armed German convoy. The resistance fighters, under Nancy's leadership, meticulously planned the attack, using knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. The operation was a success, crippling Nazi supply lines and boosting the morale of the local resistance fighters. Nancy's ability to inspire and lead was evident in the way she motivated her fighters. Despite the constant threat of discovery and reprisals, she maintained a sense of optimism and determination that kept the group focused on their objectives. Her presence alone was enough to instill confidence in her men, many of whom credited her leadership for their survival. During one particularly dangerous mission, Nancy and her group were tasked with sabotaging a key railway line. The mission required precise timing and coordination to ensure maximum impact. Despite the challenges, including the presence of German patrols, the operation was executed flawlessly, resulting in significant disruptions to Nazi troop movements. Nancy's ingenuity was on full display when she orchestrated a plan to steal weapons from an enemy supply depot. Using forged documents and disguises, her team infiltrated the depot and successfully made off with a cache of arms and ammunition. This bold act provided the resistance with the firepower they desperately needed to continue their fight. In another instance, Nancy's quick thinking saved her group from a potentially disastrous situation. When a patrol unexpectedly discovered their hideout, she devised a diversion that allowed her comrades to escape. Her actions not only saved lives, but also demonstrated her ability to remain calm under pressure. The dangers Nancy faced were immense, but she never wavered in her commitment to the cause. On one occasion, she narrowly escaped capture after a betrayal within her network. Her ability to adapt to changing circumstances and think on her feet ensured her survival and the continued success of her missions. Despite the hardships, Nancy never lost her sense of humor. Her wit and charisma made her a beloved figure among her comrades. She often used her charm to disarm suspicious officials and gain valuable information, proving that her skills extended far beyond the battlefield. Nancy's efforts were not without personal cost. She witnessed the loss of many close friends and comrades, and the constant danger took a toll on her. Yet she remained steadfast in her resolve, driven by a deep sense of duty and a desire to see her adopted country freed from tyranny. As the war neared its end, Nancy played a key role in coordinating efforts to support the Allied advance. Her work ensured that the resistance was ready to assist in liberating occupied areas, providing critical intelligence and logistical support to the advancing troops. Nancy's contributions to the war effort were invaluable, and her actions earned her a place in history as one of the most effective operatives of the resistance. After the war, Nancy's contributions were recognized internationally. She received the George Medal from Britain for her bravery, 3 Croix de Guerre medals from France for her wartime achievements, and the Medal of Freedom from the United States. Despite these accolades, Nancy remained remarkably humble, often saying she was simply doing what needed to be done. The loss of her husband Henri weighed heavily on Nancy. Learning of his execution by the Nazis after the war was a devastating blow. She rarely spoke of her grief publicly, choosing instead to focus on the positive impact of their shared sacrifices. Her resilience in the face of personal loss was a testament to her strength. In the years following the war, Nancy returned to Australia and attempted to enter politics. She ran for a seat in Parliament as a Liberal Party candidate but was unsuccessful. While her political career didn't take off, her speeches and campaign efforts showcased her intelligence, charisma, and dedication to public service. In the 1950s, Nancy moved back to Europe, where she took a job with the British Air Ministry. This period of her life was quieter, but she remained active in various veterans organisations and continued to advocate for the recognition of her fellow resistance fighters. She also remarried during this time, finding companionship and solace in her later years. Nancy often reflected on her wartime experiences with a mix of pride and pragmatism. She believed that her actions, while heroic, were simply a response to extraordinary circumstances. Her humility and refusal to glorify her own role made her even more endearing to those who admired her. Nancy spent her final years in a modest flat in London, where she lived independently well into her 90s. Despite her age, she remained sharp and outspoken, often attending events and sharing her story with younger generations. Her willingness to engage with the public ensured that her legacy would not be forgotten. Nancy passed away on August 7th, 2011, at the age of 98. Her death was widely mourned, and tributes poured in from around the world. She was remembered not only as a war hero, but as a symbol of courage, determination, and resilience. Memorials in her honor stand in several countries, ensuring that her story continues to inspire. Nancy Wake's life serves as a reminder of the extraordinary impact one person can have. Her courage, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to freedom continue to inspire people around the world. She proved that in the face of overwhelming adversity, it is possible to rise, resist, and make a difference. Nancy's story is more than a tale of wartime heroism. It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit. She stood for justice and freedom, risking everything to fight against oppression. Her legacy reminds us that even in the darkest times, there are those who will rise to meet the challenge no matter the cost. Her life and legacy continue to be celebrated in books, documentaries, and films, ensuring that her story will live on for generations to come. Nancy Wake wasn't just a hero, she was a force of nature, a true inspiration for all who hear her incredible tale. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories and share your ideas for the next video in the comments.